Have you ever reached the end of an exhausting 14-hour day, looking at a massive to-do list where every single box is checked, yet you feel a quiet, heavy emptiness inside? You feel incredibly busy, but you also know, deep down, that you haven't actually moved an inch closer to your ultimate dream. We have been brainwashed by modern hustle culture into believing that success requires doing absolutely everything. But what if the greatest thieves of your success are all those good things you are doing that are silently stealing your energy away from the only thing that actually matters? Welcome to The Upgraded Mind. I am going to decode this book so deeply and perfectly that you will never need to read it or watch another summary ever again. Chapter 1. The One Thing. Have you ever felt like you are running in 100 different directions at once, working yourself to the bone, but somehow still standing in the exact same spot? We live in a world that glorifies being completely overwhelmed. We are constantly told that to be successful, we have to do everything, be everywhere, and conquer a massive checklist of tasks every single day. But this is the ultimate trap. In the very first chapter of the book, Gary Keller introduces a powerful Russian proverb that completely shatters this modern illusion. If you chase two rabbits, you will not catch either one. The core philosophy of this chapter is brutally simple, yet incredibly difficult to execute. You must go small. Going small means ignoring all the things you could do and focusing entirely on what you should do. It is the realization that not all things matter equally. When you want absolute world-class success in any area of your life, the approach isn't to broaden your focus, it is to relentlessly narrow it. When you spread your time, energy, and focus across 20 different priorities, you end up with a painfully average outcome in all of them. You sacrifice the extraordinary just to maintain the ordinary. We often trap ourselves by adding more and more to our plates, believing that doing more equals success, which only results in complete burnout, missed deadlines, and a profound sense of underachievement. The true solution is to find the one critical thing that actually moves the needle and pour all your intensity into it. Every great business, every legendary career, and every massively successful person has one core focus that drives their success. They do not divide their power. They concentrate it like a laser beam to cut through the hardest obstacles. Chapter 2. The Domino Effect. In 1983, a physicist named Lorne Whitehead proved that a single domino is capable of knocking down another domino that is exactly 50% larger than itself. This doesn't sound like much at first, until you apply the brutal math of geometric progression. If you start with a tiny domino that is just 2 inches tall and line up a series of dominoes, each 50% larger than the last, the results completely defy human logic. The 18th domino would be the size of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The 23rd domino would tower over the Eiffel Tower, the 31st domino would loom over Mount Everest, and the 57th domino would literally bridge the distance between the Earth and the Moon. This is the ultimate secret of extraordinary results. Success is entirely sequential, not simultaneous. When you look at a massive goal, it feels like Mount Everest. If you try to jump to the top, you will fail. Elite performers do not try to knock down the 31st domino first. They hunt for the 2-inch domino. They find the absolute smallest, most critical task that stands in front of them right now. They know that if they just focus all of their energy on knocking down that first tiny lead domino, the momentum will naturally carry them to the moon. Chapter 3. Success leaves clues. Gary Keller reveals a foundational truth in this chapter. No matter where you look, at massive corporations, historical movements, or the most elite performers on the planet, extraordinary success is never random. It leaves a highly visible, undeniable trail of clues. When you reverse engineer any monumental achievement, you will always find the exact same pattern at its core. They all doubled down on their one thing. Look at Apple as an example of the one product. While other tech companies built hundreds of mediocre products, Apple focused entirely on a single breakthrough at a time, and one legendary product always drove the vast majority of their wealth. Or look at the one skill. Bill Gates didn't try to master hardware, marketing, and logistics all at once. His one thing was coding software. And there is always the one person, because no one succeeds alone. Behind every great achiever is usually one key person, a mentor, a coach, or a business partner who completely transformed their trajectory, just as Walt Disney had his brother Roy and Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak. Look at Jeff Bezos. Amazon didn't start by selling everything from groceries to electronics. Bezos chose one single product: books. He focused all his relentless energy on dominating the book market first, which became the lead domino that eventually allowed him to conquer the entire retail world. We are brainwashed into thinking that companies and individuals succeed because they are good at absolutely everything, but the clues tell a brutally honest story. They succeed because they are completely unmatched at just one thing. When your one thing aligns with your skills and market demand, it becomes a massive force multiplier, and the rest of your business or life simply exists to support that core engine. Have you ever started your workday by staring at a massive list of tasks and suddenly feeling completely paralyzed? Your mind races. An email needs an urgent reply, a client is waiting, your health is taking a back seat, and that massive project you've been dreaming about is pushed to tomorrow, again. When everything feels absolutely urgent, our brain panics and defaults to the easiest task just to feel a false sense of control. We fall victim to the very first illusion of success, a psychological trap that keeps millions of brilliant people grinding in place without ever moving forward. Part 1. The Lies That Mislead and Derail Us. Chapter 4. Everything Matters Equally. Since childhood, we are taught the concept of fairness. We are told that everything deserves equal time, equal effort, and equal attention. And we carry this exact same mindset into our adult lives. When you sit down at your desk and write out a to-do list, what are you actually creating? You are creating a list of intentions. But here is the dangerous psychological flaw of a standard to-do list. It treats every single item as if it carries the exact same weight. Checking a random email looks just as important as writing the business proposal that could change your life. Because our brain is naturally wired to seek instant dopamine hits, we hunt for the easiest tasks first. We spend hours clearing out our inbox, organizing our desk, and returning phone calls. At the end of the day, you look at your list with 10 crossed-off items and you feel incredibly proud. You feel productive. But this is a massive, devastating illusion. You are not productive. You are just busy. The most successful people in the world operate on a completely different psychological wavelength. They know a deeply uncomfortable truth. Equality is a lie. Not all work is created equal. Not all relationships yield the same joy. Not all tasks generate the same income. To understand this, we must look at a brilliant discovery made by the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto in the 19th century. Pareto noticed a fascinating mathematical imbalance in the world. He observed that 80% of the wealth in Italy was owned by just 20% of the people. When he looked deeper, he found this exact same ratio everywhere. 20% of the pea pods in his garden produced 80% of the peas. This became known as the Pareto Principle, or the 80-20 rule. In your life, 80% of your results will always come from just 20% of your actions. If you have 10 items on your to-do list, 2 of those items are worth more than the other 8 combined. But Gary Keller takes this powerful law and pushes it to the absolute extreme. He argues that you cannot just stop at the top 20%. You must take that top 20% and apply the 80-20 rule to it again and again and again until you drill all the way down to the absolute core, until you are left with just one single, massively powerful task. When you treat everything as a top priority, you actually have no priorities at all. You become a firefighter, constantly running around putting out small fires, while the foundation of your dream house slowly crumbles to the ground. Elite performers refuse to play this game. They do not use to-do lists. They build success lists. A to-do list pulls you in all directions. A success list aims you in a single, precise direction. They deliberately choose to be bad at the things that do not matter. so they can be absolutely phenomenal at the one thing that does. They let the small fires burn because they are completely locked in on building their empire. If you want to break free from the exhaustion of being endlessly busy, you must reprogram your brain to stop confusing motion with progress. You are not a machine designed to do everything. You are a human being designed to do the right thing. Now, I want to give you a very simple, eye-opening micro experiment for today. Take a piece of paper and write down the 5 tasks you plan to do tomorrow. Look closely at them. If you could only complete one of those tasks before going home, and the other 4 were completely deleted from existence, which one would leave you feeling the most accomplished? Circle it. Tomorrow. Give that exact task the absolute best hours of your morning. Protect it fiercely. Let the rest of the world wait. And watch how quickly your momentum shifts. Have you ever sat in a highly important meeting while secretly typing out an email under the table, convinced you are successfully doing both? We proudly wear our ability to juggle a dozen things at once as a badge of honor, believing it makes us highly efficient machines. But what if this exact habit is quietly destroying your brain's cognitive power and crippling your true potential? We have been sold a dangerous myth by modern corporate culture, which brings us to the second massive illusion holding you back. Chapter 5. Multitasking. The word multitasking was actually invented in the 1960s to describe computers, not human beings. Yet we adopted it, assuming our brains could run parallel processing just like a microchip. But neuroscience reveals a deeply uncomfortable truth. The human brain is biologically incapable of focusing on 2 complex tasks at the exact same time. When you think you are multitasking, you are actually just task switching. Your brain is desperately bouncing back and forth between the email and the meeting, and every single time it shifts, it pays a heavy neurological tax called a switch cost. It's like trying to actively listen to a critical Zoom meeting while secretly replying to a complex Slack message. You think you are saving time, but your brain is actually stalling, dropping vital information from both sides. This constant bouncing burns massive amounts of mental energy, leaving you exhausted, stressed, and prone to making terrible mistakes. Imagine walking on a high-wire tightrope. Would you ever try to solve a complex math puzzle at the exact same time? Of course not, because a single slip means a devastating fall. Yet, we treat our most critical life goals with fractured, split attention every single day. Elite performers refuse to buy into the lie of multitasking. They know that divided attention guarantees diminished outcomes. They protect their focus fiercely, dedicating blocks of deep, uninterrupted time to their singular mission. They understand that to achieve extraordinary results, you must give your work the absolute respect of your undivided mind. Now, I want to give you a powerful micro-experiment for today. For the next 2 hours of your workday, close every single open tab on your computer except the one you absolutely need. Put your phone on silent and leave it in a completely different room. Force your brain to endure the initial discomfort of doing just one single task at a time, and watch how your execution speed and absolute clarity completely skyrocket. Have you ever looked at a highly successful person and thought, I just don't have their discipline? We constantly beat ourselves up, believing that to achieve massive success, we have to live like a rigid, emotionless robot. We assume we need a superhuman level of self-control that we simply do not possess. But what if I told you that being a naturally disciplined person is a complete myth? This brings us to the third massive lie that keeps you feeling totally inadequate. Chapter 6. A disciplined life. The truth is, you do not need more discipline to succeed. You just need to direct the discipline you already have toward the right habit. Society tricks us into thinking that highly successful people lead strictly disciplined lives across the board. But they don't. They are actually just ordinary people who have mastered a handful of highly specific habits. When you see a champion athlete or a brilliant CEO, you aren't witnessing a lifetime of raw, painful discipline. You are witnessing the massive payoff of a temporary burst of discipline. Think about Michael Phelps, a prime example used in the book. As a child, his teachers said he had severe ADHD and couldn't focus on anything. Yet he won 28 Olympic medals. How? He wasn't disciplined in every area of his life. He just channeled every ounce of his discipline into one single habit, swimming every single day. Once that habit was locked in, he looked like the most disciplined human on Earth. It takes a huge amount of mental energy to start a new behavior. But behavioral science shows that, on average, it takes exactly 66 days for a new behavior to become completely automatic. Elite performers only use their discipline for a short, intense sprint. They push hard just long enough to lock a new habit into their nervous system, and the exact second that habit takes over, the need for raw discipline completely vanishes. The difficult action becomes as effortless as brushing their teeth. They don't have to force themselves to do the work anymore, because their system is running on pure autopilot. If you try to be completely disciplined in every single area of your life all at once, you will burn out and fail miserably. You do not need to be a disciplined person. You just need enough discipline to knock down one single domino. Once you lock in one powerful habit, it automatically makes every other challenge look incredibly easy. Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for today. Pick just one single behavior you desperately want to build into your life. Do not try to overhaul your entire daily routine. Make a rock-solid vow to apply your absolute best discipline to that one specific action for the next 66 days. Stop trying to be a perfectly disciplined human being. Just focus on locking in one single unstoppable habit and watch how that temporary effort permanently transforms your entire destiny. Have you ever started your morning feeling completely unstoppable, eating a pristine, healthy breakfast and crushing your early work tasks with absolute focus, only to find yourself mindlessly eating junk food and scrolling through your phone by 7 p.m.? You beat yourself up, assuming you are just a weak person with zero self-control. But what if your brain isn't weak at all, but is actually running completely dry of a highly specific, invisible fuel? We live under the dangerous illusion that our mental strength is like a light switch, something we can just flick on whenever we need it. But cognitive psychology tells a completely different, deeply exhausting story. Chapter 7. Willpower is always on will call. The greatest lie we tell ourselves is that our willpower is always ready and waiting on will call. We think we can summon it on demand, no matter how tired we are. But the absolute truth is, your willpower is a battery, and it is a strictly finite resource. Every single time you make a decision, resist a temptation, suppress an emotion, or even force yourself to focus on a boring email, you are slowly draining that battery. In behavioral science, this is known as decision fatigue and ego depletion. To understand how terrifyingly real this biological limit is, we have to look at a groundbreaking study conducted on judges in an Israeli parole board. These judges were highly educated, deeply experienced professionals, making massive decisions about whether prisoners should be granted freedom. Researchers tracked their decisions throughout the entire day, and they found something that completely shook the legal world. First thing in the morning, the judges granted parole to about 65% of the prisoners. But as the morning dragged on and they made decision after decision, that approval rate steadily dropped. Right before their lunch break, when the judges were mentally exhausted, the parole approval rate plummeted to nearly 0%. They weren't being cruel. They weren't suddenly prejudiced. Their willpower battery was simply dead. And when the human brain runs completely out of willpower, it always defaults to the absolute easiest, safest decision possible, which in this case was saying no and keeping the prisoner locked up. But the exact second the judges returned from lunch, after eating and taking a mental break, their willpower battery recharged, and the approval rate spiked right back up to 65%. If highly trained judges lose their cognitive control just because it is close to lunchtime, what do you think is happening to you at the end of a grueling 8-hour workday? This is exactly why you skip the gym in the evening. This is why you order takeout instead of cooking a healthy meal. Your brain has spent the entire day making hundreds of tiny, irrelevant decisions, and by nightfall, your battery is utterly destroyed. The world's absolute elite performers deeply respect this biological vulnerability. They do not fight human nature. They know that their willpower is at its absolute peak the exact second they wake up. So, they never leave their most critical task, their one thing, for the afternoon or the evening. They lock in and attack their biggest domino first thing in the morning, before the chaotic demands of the world can drain their mental energy. They don't manage their time. They manage their willpower. Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for tomorrow. Look at that one massive task you identified on your success list. Tomorrow, you are not allowed to schedule that task for the afternoon. You must tackle it within the first 2 hours of your workday. Give your ultimate dream the absolute best, most fully charged version of your brain, and watch how a grueling struggle suddenly transforms into effortless flow. Have you ever tried to perfectly divide your time between your career, your family, your health, and your hobbies, only to feel like you are failing at absolutely all of them? You leave the office early to be with your family, but your mind is still stressing over unanswered emails. You go to the gym, but you feel incredibly guilty for not working on your business. We are constantly told that a perfectly balanced life is the ultimate secret to happiness and success. But what if this desperate pursuit of perfect balance is exactly what guarantees a life of complete mediocrity? This brings us to the fifth, deeply ingrained illusion that keeps you playing small. Chapter 8. A balanced life. In the real world, perfect balance is a complete myth. It is a beautifully romantic idea, but it is entirely disconnected from the reality of achieving greatness. Think about it. Nothing in human history has ever achieved extraordinary success by staying perfectly in the middle. Magic never happens in the safe, comfortable middle. Magic happens at the extremes. When you study the absolute greatest entrepreneurs, artists, and athletes, you will notice a stark reality. During their phases of peak creation and massive breakthroughs, their lives were heavily, radically unbalanced. To achieve an extraordinary result, you must choose to go to the extreme in your focus. You have to trade your time in one area to create massive momentum in another. But Gary Keller does not tell you to blindly burn down your personal life or destroy your health for the sake of success. Instead, he introduces a profoundly liberating concept. He tells us to stop seeking balance and to master the art of counterbalancing. Imagine a world-class ballerina standing on the tips of her toes. To the audience sitting in the dark, she looks perfectly balanced and entirely still. But if you look closely at her feet, they are constantly vibrating. She is making hundreds of tiny, rapid micro-adjustments, shifting her weight constantly from one side to the other just to stay upright. She isn't balanced. She is counterbalancing. Your life must operate on this exact same physical law. The secret lies in knowing exactly how long you can afford to stay out of balance in different areas of your life. In your professional life, when you are chasing your one thing, you must allow yourself to go out of balance for long stretches of time. You have to leave the small, unimportant tasks undone so you can build your empire. But in your personal life, with your health, your family, and your spirit, you cannot afford long periods of neglect. The damage there becomes permanent very quickly. So, you must counterbalance frequently. When you are at work, you give it your absolute extreme focus. But the exact second you step through the door of your home, you drop the work completely. You give your family your absolute extreme presence. You stop trying to do everything every single day. You accept that a rich life is a rhythm of leaning heavily into your work and then leaning heavily back into your soul. Now, I want to give you a deeply peaceful micro-experiment for today. Tonight, when you finish your work, draw a hard, impenetrable mental line. For just 1 single hour this evening, give your absolute, undivided presence to your family, a loved one, or a personal passion. Put your phone in a completely different room. Do not allow a single thought of work to cross your mind. Experience the quiet, powerful freedom of letting your work remain unbalanced so you can completely counterbalance your soul. Have you ever had a massive, life-changing idea, but almost immediately, a quiet voice in your head whispered, "That's too hard. It's going to consume my entire life. I should probably aim for something safer"? We are conditioned to be terrified of massive success. We shrink our dreams to fit into a comfortable, manageable box. This brings us to the sixth and final lie of success, a psychological ceiling that artificially limits your true potential. Chapter 9. Big is bad. Since we were young, we have heard phrases like, "Don't bite off more than you can chew," or "Be realistic." Over time, we start linking the word big with words like stress, complicated, and overwhelming. We assume that building a massive business or achieving extreme wealth requires us to completely sacrifice our health, our families, and our peace of mind. So, we subconsciously lower our trajectory. We aim for average, because average feels safe. But Gary Keller exposes a deeply profound reality. Big is not bad. Big is simply a different set of questions. Let's look at the psychology of goal setting. If you set a goal to increase your income by 10% this year, your brain will rely on the exact same habits and systems you are using right now. You will just try to work a little bit harder. But if you set a goal to increase your income by 10 times this year, your brain instantly realizes that simply working harder won't cut it. You cannot reach a 10x goal with a 1x system. You are forced to completely burn down your old, inefficient routines. You have to engineer a brand new, revolutionary way of operating. Thinking big doesn't actually complicate your life. It forces you to completely simplify it. It forces you to ruthlessly cut out all the useless noise and focus strictly on the very few massive levers that actually move the needle. When you artificially limit your vision, you limit your actions. And when you limit your actions, you eventually hit a permanent ceiling of achievement. The world's most elite founders, creators, and leaders refuse to put a ceiling on their imagination. They don't fear the scale of their dreams. They know a fundamental psychological truth. You can never outperform your own beliefs. If you want extraordinary results, you must give yourself complete permission to think as big as humanly possible, and trust that you will naturally grow into the person capable of handling it. Now, I want to give you a deeply liberating micro-experiment for today. Take the biggest goal you have set for yourself this year. Now, add a 0 to it. Multiply it by 10. Look at that massive new target. Notice the initial fear that spikes in your chest. And then ask yourself one single question. What would have to be true for me to actually achieve this? Give your brain permission to explore the impossible and watch how the trajectory of your entire life completely shifts. Have you ever stared at a massive goal and felt completely paralyzed because you had absolutely no idea where to take the very first step? You know exactly where you want to end up, but the bridge between your current reality and your ultimate dream is hidden in a dense fog. We waste years wandering in this fog, trying random tactics and hoping something magically works. But what if there was a simple psychological compass that could instantly cut through the noise and point you to exact true north? We have officially destroyed the 6 lies that derail us. It is time to step out of the illusion and into reality. Part 2. The Truth, the Simple Path to Productivity. Chapter 10. The Focusing Question. In life, the quality of your answers is directly determined by the quality of your questions. If you wake up and ask your brain, "What should I do today?" your brain will hand you a massive, chaotic list of random chores. Ask an average question, and you will get an average, exhausting answer. But to unlock extraordinary results, you must ask an uncommon question. Gary Keller introduces the ultimate code to human productivity. He calls it the focusing question. It goes exactly like this. What is the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? This is not just a clever motivational phrase. It is a brutal neurological filter. When you ask this exact question, you force your brain to stop looking at the entire terrifying forest and lock onto the single, most critical tree. The true genius of this question lies in its dual power. It acts as both a massive map and a daily compass. When you look at your long-term future and ask this question, it acts as a map, helping you discover your ultimate life purpose. And when you look at your current morning and ask it, it acts as a precise compass, telling you the exact next step you need to take right this second. It forces you to find your lead domino. Look closely at the anatomy of the question. When you ask, such that by doing it, you are demanding that your action has a massive compounding payoff. And when you add the final piece, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. You are aggressively hunting down the busy work. You suddenly realize that by closing that one major client or building that one core piece of software, 10 other minor stressful tasks simply don't matter anymore. They become completely irrelevant. Elite performers do not rely on blind luck or raw hustle. They rely on the relentless discipline of asking this one profound question over and over again. They use it to plan their year, their month, their week, and their very next hour. Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for today. Look at the single biggest project or stressor on your desk right now. Close your eyes and ask yourself out loud, what is the one thing I can do for this project today, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. Unearth that one specific action. Do not touch a single other piece of paper or open a single email until that one task is completely destroyed. Let the compass guide you. Have you ever read a life-changing book or attended a massive seminar, only to wake up the next Monday and fall right back into your old, comfortable routines? We gather all this profound knowledge, yet our daily execution remains completely unchanged. Knowing a secret is entirely useless until you wire it directly into your nervous system. This brings us to the ultimate execution phase of productivity. Chapter 11, The Success Habit. In the last chapter, you learned the ultimate question for productivity, but asking the focusing question just once a year when you set your goals will never build an empire. If you want extraordinary results, you must turn this question into an unstoppable automated reflex. You must forge it into a habit. Gary Keller calls this the success habit. You have to take the question, what is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary, and apply it to every single critical area of your life. You ask it about your physical health. You ask it about your marriage. You ask it about your finances and your massive career goals. When you wake up in the morning, you don't look at your phone. You ask yourself, what is the one thing I can do for my mind today? When you arrive at your office, you don't open your email. You ask, what is the one thing I can do to grow my business right now? Elite performers do not rely on random bursts of inspiration. They build a rigid system around this one specific question. They frame their entire existence around it. When you make this question the absolute first filter of your day, it violently strips away all the useless distractions and forces your brain to lock onto the lead domino. You stop living by accident, and you start living by design. Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for today. Take a sticky note and write the focusing question on it in big, bold letters. Stick it directly onto your computer monitor or your bathroom mirror. Force your eyes to hit that question multiple times a day. Do not let your brain escape the discomfort of answering it. Wire this question into your daily rhythm, and watch how your life begins to move with unstoppable, absolute precision. Have you ever set a massive, ambitious goal, but then immediately felt completely lost because you had no idea how to actually achieve it? We often know exactly what we want, but the moment we try to find the actual how, we get buried in a mountain of average, useless advice. We settle for easy, predictable solutions, because digging for the ultimate truth feels far too exhausting. But if you want to unlock a reality that completely defies logic, you cannot rely on average solutions. This brings us to the final psychological piece of the productivity puzzle. Chapter 12, The Path to Great Answers. Once you master the art of asking the focusing question, you are left staring at a blank canvas. Now, you must find the answer. But Gary Keller warns us of a deeply profound reality. An average question will always lead to an average answer. If you ask your brain, how can I increase my income? Your brain will give you a safe, predictable response. It will say, work a few more hours, or ask for a small raise. That is a small and broad question, leading to a small and entirely forgettable result. If you want extraordinary results, your question must possess two brutal qualities. It must be big and it must be specific. Instead of asking to increase your income, you must ask, how can I double my income to exactly $200,000 in the next 6 months? The exact second you make the question massive and highly specific, a psychological shockwave hits your brain. It immediately realizes that simply working harder won't cut it. Your old systems collapse. You are forcefully pushed out of your comfort zone and driven to hunt for a great answer. But where do you actually find that answer? Keller explains that answers exist in 3 distinct zones. The first zone is the doable. This is the easy answer. It is the path you already know, the skills you already possess. It requires 0 growth. The second zone is the stretch. This sits right on the edge of your current ability. It requires you to study what others have done, read the books, find a mentor, and push yourself just a little bit further. But the world's absolute elite performers do not stop there. They push into the third, most terrifying zone, the possibility. This is where true greatness lives. In this zone, there is no map. No one has ever achieved exactly what you are trying to do in the way you are trying to do it. To conquer the possibility zone, you cannot just copy your competitors. You have to benchmark the absolute best practices in the entire world and then ask, what is the next massive leap? You have to be willing to experiment, to fail, and to completely reinvent the rules of the game. The path to a great answer is never a straight line. It is a relentless, magnificent hunt for a brand new truth. Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for today. Take the most important goal you have right now and rewrite it on a piece of paper to be insanely big and specific. If your goal is to build a business, write down, what is the one thing I can do to generate exactly $10,000 in revenue in the next 30 days? Force your brain out of the safe, doable zone and watch how it immediately begins hunting for an absolute masterpiece of an answer. Have you ever achieved a massive goal, like hitting a huge financial milestone or getting that dream promotion, and instead of feeling absolute lasting happiness, you just felt a quiet, lingering emptiness? You look around and wonder, is this really it? We spend our entire lives violently chasing external success, believing it holds the ultimate key to our happiness. But this relentless pursuit of more, without a deeply anchored foundation, is the fastest path to complete burnout. If you want to unlock a level of success that actually fulfills your soul, we must step into the final and most powerful phase of this masterclass. Part 3, Extraordinary Results. Chapter 13, Live with Purpose. Our modern world is completely obsessed with the tip of the iceberg. We look at the world's most successful people and we only see their productivity, their wealth, and their massive empires. We try to copy their morning routines and their time management hacks, hoping we will achieve the exact same results. But Gary Keller reveals a profound, structural truth about human achievement. Productivity is just the visible tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface of the water, holding up that massive block of ice, are two invisible, foundational layers. Directly beneath productivity is your priority, and at the absolute deepest base of the entire structure is your purpose. Without a deeply rooted purpose, your priorities will constantly shift with the wind. And without clear priorities, your productivity is nothing more than chaotic, exhausting motion. Purpose is the absolute straightest path to power. It is the ultimate source of personal strength, conviction, and unshakable resilience. When you look at legendary creators, visionary leaders, and elite athletes, you realize they are not grinding 14 hours a day just to make another dollar. Money is just a byproduct. They are driven by a massive burning why that sits at the very core of their existence. They know exactly who they are and exactly where they are going. When you live with a clear purpose, the daily grind stops feeling like a punishment. You don't have to force yourself to wake up early or fight through the brutal moments of boredom. Your purpose generates an infinite, renewable source of cognitive energy that pushes you straight through the friction. Happiness does not live at the finish line of a massive goal. The human brain quickly adapts to new wealth and new achievements, a psychological phenomenon known as the hedonic treadmill. True, lasting happiness only happens on the way to fulfillment. It is the quiet joy of knowing that today's one thing is perfectly aligned with your ultimate life's mission. Now, I want to give you a deeply reflective micro-experiment for today. Find a quiet space tonight, pull out your journal, and ask yourself this single, penetrating question. What is the one thing I want my life to be about, more than anything else? Do not write down a financial target. Write down a calling. Discover the foundation of your iceberg, and watch how your daily priorities naturally and beautifully fall into place. Have you ever stared at a beautiful, massive vision board for your life, but when you sat down at your desk on a random Tuesday morning, you had absolutely no idea what to actually do? We have been taught that if our why is strong enough, the how will naturally reveal itself. But a massive purpose without a precise, immediate focus is nothing more than a hollow daydream. To bridge the massive gap between your ultimate dream and your current reality, we must explore the second layer of the iceberg. Chapter 14. Live by priority. Your purpose points you in the right direction, but your priority dictates your exact next step. The human brain suffers from a massive neurological flaw known in behavioral economics as hyperbolic discounting. It simply means that the further away a reward is in the future, the less motivation our brain feels to chase it today. We feel deeply disconnected from our future selves. If you set a massive goal to become a millionaire in 10 years, your brain feels zero urgency to take action this morning. It assumes it has a decade to figure it out. So you choose to sleep in and scroll through social media instead. Gary Keller introduces a brilliant, highly strategic framework to completely bypass this biological flaw. He calls it goal setting to the now. It works exactly like a set of Russian nesting dolls. You don't just set a long-term goal and hope for the best. You ruthlessly work backward. You start with your ultimate someday goal. Then you ask, based on my someday goal, what is the one thing I must do in the next 5 years to be on track? Then you shrink it again. Based on my 5-year goal, what is the one thing I must do this year? And you keep shrinking the timeline. You ask it for this month, then this week, then today, until you finally arrive at the ultimate penetrating question. Based on my daily goal, what is the one thing I can do right this exact second? This framework is absolute magic. It mathematically links your distant, terrifying future directly to this very moment. It transforms a vague 10-year dream into a brutal, immediate action step for today. Elite performers do not just drift toward their goals. They reverse engineer their entire destiny. They line up their dominoes perfectly so that pushing one tiny, effortless domino today automatically triggers a massive chain reaction that builds an empire tomorrow. Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for today. Take your single biggest goal for this year. Now, work backward to this exact moment. Ask yourself, to be on track for this 1-year goal, what is the one thing I absolutely must complete by the end of this week? Write that specific weekly target down in bold letters. Collapse the massive timeline into a tiny, immediate deadline, and watch your procrastination completely vanish. Have you ever sat down at your desk in the morning with absolute clarity on your biggest priority, but by 5 p.m., you realize you spent the entire day answering emails, attending pointless meetings, and fighting everyone else's fires? You knew exactly what you needed to do, yet the day completely slipped through your fingers. We have established our massive purpose, and we have reverse-engineered our exact priority. But knowing what to do is entirely useless if you do not fiercely protect the time to actually do it. This brings us to the visible tip of the iceberg, the ultimate arena where your empire is actually built. Chapter 15. Live for productivity. Most people operate under the illusion that highly successful individuals are just naturally more productive. We assume they have some magical ability to get 100 things done in a single day. But the absolute truth is, the most successful people on earth do not get everything done. They just get the right thing done. And to guarantee that happens, they use a brutally effective, non-negotiable strategy called time blocking. An average person looks at their calendar and asks, where can I squeeze in some time for my goals? An elite performer looks at their calendar and says, I am going to block out the time for my ultimate goal first, and the rest of the world will just have to fit around it. Time blocking is not just scheduling. It is a psychological shield. When you time block your one thing, you are creating an impenetrable fortress around your most valuable hours. You treat that block of time with the exact same respect as a highly critical meeting with a billionaire investor. You do not cancel it. You do not move it. You do not answer the phone during it. Gary Keller recommends a massive, highly specific target for this. He states that if you truly want extraordinary results, you must time block a minimum of 4 hours a day, entirely dedicated to your one thing. 4 uninterrupted hours of deep, absolute flow. For most people, this sounds completely impossible. The brain immediately panics and says, I have too many emails to answer. My boss needs me. My clients will get angry. But this is exactly where the magic happens. When you force yourself to ignore the chaotic noise for 4 hours, you stop being a reactive slave to the world. You step into the role of a creator. The emails can wait. The minor fires can burn. You have to treat those 4 hours like you are on a flight with no Wi-Fi. No Slack notifications, no quick texts, no just checking Instagram. Because while the rest of the world is busy chasing 50 different rabbits, you are quietly, aggressively knocking down your absolute biggest domino. To master this, Keller says you must block time for 3 specific things in a very specific order. First, you time block your time off. You lock in your vacations and rest days in advance, because a drained battery cannot produce extraordinary work. Second, you time block your one thing. And third, you time block your planning time. You set aside an hour every week just to review your goals and set up the dominoes for the next week. When your calendar reflects these 3 blocks, your productivity ceases to be a massive struggle. It becomes a mathematical certainty. Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for today. Open your digital calendar or journal for tomorrow. Find the absolute best, most energetic hours of your morning and draw a massive, unbreakable block over them. Label it My One Thing Tomorrow. When that block begins, turn off your internet, silence your phone, and lock the door. Give your ultimate dream the absolute, undivided respect it deserves, and watch how much ground you cover in a single morning. Have you ever blocked out hours of your day to work on a massive project, but found yourself just staring blankly at the screen, achieving absolutely nothing? You built the fortress around your time, but once inside, you realize you have hit a brutal mental wall. We assume that just showing up and working hard is enough, but simply dedicating time to a task does not guarantee greatness. If you want to transform your blocked time into a legendary empire, you must completely rewire how you approach the work itself. This brings us to the 3 unbreakable vows you must make to your own future. Chapter 16, The 3 Commitments. The first commitment is to follow the path of mastery. Most people view mastery as a final destination, a shiny trophy they can win and put on a shelf. But psychological science tells us that true mastery is not an endpoint. It is a relentless daily journey. It is the quiet, deliberate choice to wake up every single morning and command your craft just a millimeter better than you did yesterday. Elite performers never believe they have finally arrived. They remain eternal students of their one thing. The second commitment is the massive psychological shift from E to P. E stands for entrepreneurial. This is your raw, natural energy. When you start a new project, you use this natural enthusiasm to hustle your way forward. You rely on your sheer willpower and your natural talent, but eventually, while every single human being hits a hard ceiling of achievement, your raw energy runs out. When average people hit this ceiling, they do the exact same things, just a little bit harder. They spin their wheels in the mud, burning massive amounts of energy without moving an inch. But elite performers shift to P, purposeful. When a purposeful person hits a ceiling, they don't just push blindly. They completely change their system. They hunt for a new model. They hire a coach. They read a new book. They deliberately engineer a breakthrough to shatter that ceiling, realizing that doing something a better way is always more powerful than just doing the same thing harder. The third and final commitment is to live the accountability cycle. When things completely fall apart, the human brain's natural defense mechanism is to play the victim. We blame the economy, we blame our clients, we blame our lack of resources. But the exact second you blame your circumstances, you surrender all your power to change them. To achieve extraordinary results, you must become fiercely, brutally accountable. You must look in the mirror and say, I own this failure, and I am the only one who will engineer the solution. Accountable people do not run from reality. They face it head on, and they ask, what can I do right now to make this better? Now, I want to give you a highly practical micro-experiment for today. Look closely at your current life and identify the one specific area where you have hit a hard ceiling. Are you just trying to muscle through it with raw energy? Stop. Today, spend just 15 minutes hunting for a brand new model, a specific podcast, a book, or a strategy that can teach you a completely new way to bypass that exact ceiling. Stop working harder and start working purposefully. Have you ever built the perfect plan, blocked out your time, and promised yourself that today was the day you would finally make massive progress, only to have your entire day stolen by a million tiny interruptions? You sit down at your desk and immediately your phone rings. Someone asks for a small favor. A minor crisis erupts in the office. Before you know it, the sun is setting, and your massive dream has been pushed to tomorrow yet again. Your time wasn't lost by accident. It was hijacked by a very specific set of psychological enemies, and until you learn to defeat them, your calendar will never truly belong to you. Chapter 17. The four thieves. Gary Keller identifies four massive thieves that relentlessly steal your productivity. The first thief is the inability to say no. We are biologically wired to please others. We want to be helpful. So when someone asks for our time, our default answer is always yes. But here is the brutal mathematical reality. Every single time you say yes to something that does not matter, you are simultaneously saying no to your one thing. Elite performers understand that a yes is a massively expensive currency. They guard it fiercely. They are completely comfortable letting people down in the short term because they know their ultimate loyalty belongs to their purpose. You must master the art of saying a polite, unshakable no. The second thief is the fear of chaos. When you lock yourself away for 4 hours to focus strictly on your one thing, the rest of the world does not just stop. The laundry piles up, emails flood your inbox, minor problems spark into small fires. Average people panic at the sight of this chaos. They drop their massive goals just to go clean up the mess. But elite performers expect the chaos. They accept it. They know that untidiness is the natural byproduct of extreme focus. You have to make peace with the fact that while you are building your empire, some things around you will temporarily fall apart. Let the small fires burn. The third thief is poor health habits. We often sacrifice our sleep and eat terrible food in the name of hustling harder. But your brain is a biological machine. It runs on physical energy. If you are chronically exhausted, your willpower battery will drain within minutes. You cannot produce a legendary world-class output if you are running on cheap, low-grade fuel. Protecting your sleep, your diet, and your physical movement is not a luxury. It is a strict requirement for high-level focus. The fourth and final thief is an environment that doesn't support your goals, no matter how much willpower you have. If your work desk is covered in distractions, or if the people around you constantly interrupt you and drag you down, you will eventually surrender. Your environment is the invisible hand guiding your life. You must surround yourself with people who deeply respect your time, and you must design a physical space where focus is the only logical option. Now, I want to give you a highly liberating micro-experiment for today. Sometime today, someone will ask you for a piece of your time that distracts you from your main priority. Your challenge is to give them a firm, guilt-free no. Do not over-explain. Do not apologize endlessly. Protect your time like a fortress and feel the immense power of finally taking your life back. Have you ever stopped to think about the final days of your life and wondered what you will actually regret the most when looking back? We spend decades agonizing over minor failures, awkward moments, and temporary setbacks. But psychological studies on the end of life reveal a deeply profound truth. When people reach the end, they rarely regret the things they did. They almost exclusively regret the things they didn't do. They regret the risks they never took, the dreams they abandoned for safety, the purpose they never fulfilled. This brings us to the ultimate conclusion of our masterclass. Chapter 18, The Journey. You now possess the entire blueprint. We have destroyed the 6 lies that keep you playing small. We have uncovered the absolute truth of the focusing question, and we have built the iceberg of extraordinary results, starting with purpose, moving to priority, and executing with extreme productivity. But a blueprint is completely useless if you refuse to lay the first brick. Gary Keller reminds us that greatness is not a sudden, magical event. It is a relentless, continuous journey. And the most difficult part of any massive journey is simply having the courage to take the very first step. You do not need to have the next 10 years figured out. You do not need a perfect, flawless map. All you need is to identify your very first lead domino. When you look at a massive, complex life, it is easy to feel completely overwhelmed. But you must remember the fundamental law of the domino effect. A single, 2-inch domino has the mathematical power to eventually knock down a structure the size of the Eiffel Tower. As long as you focus entirely on striking that first piece, you are the first domino. Your life is entirely in your own hands. You can choose to close this book and go right back to a life of chaotic, average distraction. Or you can choose to step into the terrifying, magnificent arena of absolute focus. You can choose to live a life completely devoid of regrets. A life where you deliberately chased your true purpose, lived by your highest priorities, and protected your time like a fortress. The journey starts the exact second you stop reading and start doing. Now, I want to give you your final, ultimate micro-experiment. Put this device down. Do not check your email. Do not look at social media. Take a deep breath and ask yourself one last time, what is the one thing I can do right now, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Find that answer. Go knock down your first domino and never ever look back. Conclusion: putting the one thing to work. After understanding the entire framework of the book, the final piece of the puzzle is actually putting the one thing to work across every core area of your life. A masterfully designed life doesn't just happen by accident. It is actively built by applying the focusing question to your spiritual life, your physical health, your personal relationships, and your business. The book's ultimate advice is not to try and overhaul your entire life overnight, which only leads to burnout. Instead, pick just one area to start. If you want a better relationship with your family, you simply ask, what is the one thing I can do this week to improve our connection, such that everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Once you build a solid habit in that single area, you move on to your physical health, and then eventually your finances or your career. Success is always an inside-out job. You build an extraordinary, world-class life by knocking down one meaningful domino at a time, protecting your time relentlessly, and trusting the brutal math that massive results only come from singular focus. The ultimate secret of the book isn't just in knowing the philosophy, it is in ruthlessly living it one single step at a time every single day.